And the trial is underway now in Louisville, Kentucky for the former Kentucky police officer Brett Hankison, who was involved in a raid that killed Breonna Taylor. Hankison is charged with firing into a neighboring apartment while serving a no-knock warrant on Taylor's apartment in March 13th of 2020. He has pleaded not guilty. If convicted, he faces up to 5 years in prison. Host and legal analyst at Law and Crime Network, Terry Austin, joins me now for more on this. Terry, opening statements have now wrapped up. What are your big takeaways?
Well, what I was impressed with is the fact that the prosecution laid out so many of the facts. In fact, I thought that the defense said that she laid out too many facts, but I think the jury is going to be very clear on at least what the prosecution is thinking the case will say to them. And essentially what Ms. Whaley is trying to tell them is there was no need for Brett Hankison to shoot wildly. He had 10 shots and several of them went into this neighboring apartment, and they are going to have witnesses to testify. Cody, who was the individual in the other apartment along with Chelsea, his partner, and in fact she was pregnant and a young son. But the testimony is basically going to be that these shots came wildly into the apartment and that Brett Hankison really didn't see an AR-15 as he thought he had. It was really a Glock. And so he wasn't justified. He was being very unreasonable. And she laid out every single detail for the jury to see. And the defense basically just said, look, this was a chaotic scene. And what Hankison did was reasonable, it was logical, and it was rational. So we'll see what the jury thinks based on this evidence.
What are you going to be looking out for these next few days as this trial gets underway? What are some of the key points and arguments that could sway this trial one way or the other?
The one piece of evidence that I'm very curious to see is what will the neighbors say? We know we're going to hear from officers. We're going to hear from the SWAT team. We're going to hear from firearms experts and trainers. But I'm really curious what the neighbors will say. Theoretically, they should be objective. They should be able to say what they heard. Was there a knock? Was there a voice that said police officers? Did anyone identify themselves? Were the shootings wild? So I'm really curious to see what those neighbors think happened on that night of the scene. And frankly, I think they're going to shed more light to the jury as far as what was happening. I think everyone is going to say it was chaotic. And frankly, I don't think that bodes well for the defense. They're supposed to be able to go into a scene and make sure that they are handling it so it doesn't become chaotic. That's not an excuse to have shot wildly into either one of those apartments.
And this is the only trial and charge, for that matter, to emerge from the police raid that killed Breonna Taylor. But Brett Hankison is not the officer who shot her. He's not being charged in relation to shooting Breonna Taylor. He's being charged for shooting into the neighbor's apartment, as you said. So what is the broader impact, if any, of this trial, since Hankison is the sole officer from that raid who's being tried?
It's an excellent question, and I think the community at large, and particularly the parents and the family of Breonna Taylor, want some justice. They want to make sure that the people responsible for her death do have charges brought against them. The state did not feel as though there was enough to bring anything against the other officers.
All right, Terry Austin, always great to have your legal analysis. Terry, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.